And one of the things I always say, and this was like another one of those epiphanies of sorts, and you have to give yourself mind space to have these thoughts, right?
Yeah.
It suddenly occurred to me, and here's another tip. Let's say you don't know what your marketing message is. Really listen to your customers and the people you interact with.
That's good.
And don't just listen to what they're saying, listen for what they're saying. My experience has been that I was paying attention to what people were asking me. So some typical questions and challenges that I constantly had were things like, I don't know what to do. There's Twitter, there's LinkedIn, there's this, and there's that. And should I do email? And which email thing should I choose? And should I do this? And blah, 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 blah. And it's like people were just so overwhelmed by the marketing possibilities and opportunities and channels and tools and so on and so forth. And what occurred to me was, so one day I'm just like sitting there and drinking coffee and I'm like, you know what? Marketing isn't about what you do. It's about who you are.
Hello and welcome to The Right Podcast, your source for inspiration in copywriting and content marketing. Listen in as I interview experts in the field and share entrepreneurial stories along with practical content marketing and writing advice, all to impact your life and habits as a content marketer. Welcome to the show. Welcome to episode 28 in The Right Podcast. I can't believe that we're just 2 away from 30. So today I have the lovely Ivana Taylor with me. She has over 20 years in marketing and she's a small business marketing expert, online publisher, and influencer. So she's the creator of DIY Marketers and she provides DIY marketing advice, marketing trends, and marketing how-to tips and strategies for small business owners and CEOs. It is so great to have you here with me today, Ivana.
Hey, it's great to be here, Julia. And it's Ivana, by the way. Like, Ivana, you can say it.
Ivana.
Yeah.
Well, it's so great to have you here today, Ivana.
I'm happy to be here. Really excited to chat with you. It's an honor to meet you.
Oh, thank you. It was really cool to meet you in person at CM World this year.
Yeah, I loved it. You probably saw my face. My eyes got like really big. I'm like, oh my God, it's Julia.
It's so cool because we both interact on Twitter with our Twitter chats. And I think that's like how we got on each other's radar to begin with.
Absolutely. And I don't know how long has Express Writers been around?
Since late 2011.
Because I remember running into you guys and following you on the platform. And I've used your services a couple of times and always been like super thrilled.
Oh, awesome. Well, great to hear that. So I'm so glad to have you here today speaking about how to develop your marketing message, which is such a great topic. So to begin, what are some tips for businesses that are just like starting out? They're looking for what that marketing message is. They're starting to build it. What are some tips that you would give them?
Well, I'm going to begin by saying this, and that is give yourself some space. I think, and I have to speak from experience. I don't know how this worked for you. And maybe I'm a little more critical of myself because I feel like this is something that I do for a living. Why am I struggling with it so much? I'm going to have a confession for all you people. It took me, I'm not lying, like 18 months from quitting my corporate job and deciding, to start consulting and doing what I was doing. It took 18 months from that point until I finally figured out what my real strength in marketing was. Because when you just say marketing, that's like everywhere. Most people just assume it's just promotion. Most people assume it's a variety of different things. 18 months it took for me and it was just an epiphany. After doing all that work, epiphanies don't happen with nothing. Epiphanies happen because you worked on it and you thought about it. And I had sticky notes and those, poster boards everywhere. And I thought and wrote and tried a bunch of different things. And suddenly it just occurred to me, oh, you know what else I did? I went through all my old job descriptions for like 15 years. I had all of my job descriptions and I was like, what did it say in the job? Responsible for competitive analysis, responsible for market research. I was like looking at all the product growth, blah, 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 promotion, and all this stuff you see. And I was like, then I asked myself the question, why? Why was I doing any of these things? crawling through dumpsters to collect competitive information. Like, why? And the answer was so that our customers would choose us instead of the other guy.
That's good. And great question.
That was a defining moment, right? And so the biggest tip I would say is give yourself some time and space and really dig into what is your business about. You might have to write in like hundreds of little lines of tasks that you do. And then ask yourself, like, why am I doing this? Like, why does this matter to me or to the customer or to anybody else? So like and then, just sort of stew on that for a while. Try it on like a jacket or a dress.
Wow.
Wear it around. Talk to other people about it. Get into conversation about it so that people ask you questions and you can respond. So the biggest tip is it takes some time to step into it. Maybe not for everyone, maybe certain people. It's easy. But if it's challenging for you, that's okay. It's supposed to be challenging. If it were easy, everyone would do it.
So true. I love that. I love how you talk about looking at all the daily minute tasks that you do and then stepping back and asking yourself, why do we do this? What makes it special in the industry? I think that's such a great place to come from. And like you said, that really does take time. I know for me, that's true too. As soon as I
have that experience.
Yeah, absolutely. I started Express Writers and I knew, okay, I want to create a team of writers that create some of the best content together for clients. But apart from that, I didn't really come up with a strong marketing message. That has definitely come with time and then figuring out our why in the industry. So I think that's great advice.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things I always say, and this was like another one of those epiphanies of sorts, and you have to give yourself mind space to have these thoughts, right? It suddenly occurred to me, and here's another tip. Let's say you don't know what your marketing message is. Really listen to your customers and the people you interact with.
That's good.
And don't just listen to what they're saying, listen for what they're saying. Because my experience has been that I was paying attention to what people were asking me. So some typical questions and challenges that I constantly had were things like, I don't know what to do. There's Twitter, there's LinkedIn, there's this, and there's that. And should I do email? And which email thing should I choose? And should I do this? And blah, 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 blah. And it's like people were just so overwhelmed by the marketing possibilities and opportunities and channels and tools and so on and so forth.
Right.
And what occurred to me was, so one day I was just like sitting there drinking coffee and I'm like, you know what? Marketing isn't about what you do. It's about who you are. People choose you because of who you are in the world and not so much because of what you do. So once you understand what your business is about and who your business is being in the world, the choices suddenly become so much easier and less overwhelming.
Wow. That's amazing. I love that. Focusing on who you are. That is so great. It's so simple, but I don't think that a lot of marketers just tend to go that route because it's so easy to get stuck in what we do and then try to make that the best in the industry, et cetera. But focusing on who we are, that's awesome. And I can even give an example of that. We started doing something this year with our website that was like really different in our industry. We focused on creating a values page where we kind of laid out my story, which, I got really raw about it. There's a crazy story going on there. So I put that out. And then we put out what our values were in the industry, creating the best team, putting the best content out there. And when we put that page out, we had so many chats that actually triggered from that page from new clients. So they loved that page. They loved how much we put ourselves out there. So I think that is really good advice. And if you take it all the way, there's no telling where you can go because I think that really makes a brand stand out.
Oh, when you look at every big brand, and this was, I can't believe I went through all these years of college and getting a master's degree and an MBA, blah, 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 to get to this. This is pathetic, but this is what it is, right? Every big brand, and I know because I've read your values page, every big brand that you love and that you look up to and that people write about and talk about have these 3 questions answers. I'm going to tell them to you right now. So all those people who are listening, write this down. Okay. One is, who are you being in the world? Right. So you could be like very persnickety and particular. So, and if you're an accountant, that's a pretty cool way to be, right? Or you can be like really artistic and creative in the world, right? So, who are you being in the world? That would be like a character trait, right? And the second one is, what are you committed to? And so not an internal, what are you committed to, but what are you committed to? What are you committed to improving in the world? And so on. I'm going to give you an example so it makes sense. And the last one is, what can people count on you for? Okay. So for example, who I'm being in the world is contribution. And you and I just had this conversation. We have it all the time, right? There's a difference between a transaction. I give you money, you give me something, right? Like toothpaste, right? That's a transaction.
Right.
There's service. Clearly better. I give you money and then you do something I either don't know how to do, don't have time to do, or don't want to do. Better than a transaction, clearly. But it can like land a little slavey. I don't know if that's a word, right? But the last one, contribution, is you give me money and I not only do this thing that you don't want to do, don't have time to do, or whatever, but I do you one better. So I do social media, you do social media, right? And but when a big project comes up, we get help. So I had a big project coming up. I got some help. And I asked this woman to set up social media accounts for this brand. And I said, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, or Twitter, Facebook were the two big ones. A couple days later, she calls me up and she says, hey, you know what? You didn't tell me to set up a Pinterest account, but Pinterest drives a ton of traffic. So I set one up for you. That's contribution.
Yes.
So that's what it means to be a contribution. Now, what are you committed to? I'm committed to small business owners, like having a business that they love and marketing that's like effortless, and having them like, put money in their pocket, hire one more person, have the kind of business that like makes them happy. That's what I'm committed to. Who's going to go against that? Right. So when I talk about a commitment, you might be committed to having like a, committed to the environment, something that we can all agree on that we're committed to. Right. And finally, what can people count on you for? In my case, it's low cost marketing ideas, tools, tips, strategies, all on a budget, marketing on $17 a day. That's what you can count on me for. Right. So you can see how just being really clear on those three things already starts to get that marketing message together.
Wow, that's great. And you mentioned earlier, to tie into this, going to our customers for more of this. Like what are their pain points? What are they looking to us for? And that's something we've done as well. And just looking through the live chats, the support requests we get, we've gotten so much good information that way. And I think it's like sometimes maybe an untapped source to go into what your customers are talking about, their daily pain points, the reasons why they actually looked up your website. So how can we do more of that? Go to our customers for just getting some of these points of our messaging down.
Great question. Now, one thing I do with my clients is I refuse to take on any consulting project where I don't have in-depth interviews with their customers. And I would have to say this, I would really recommend that you hire someone to do this. You don't want your salespeople to do this. You don't want anyone on your management team to do this, because obviously, even though this is not like a formal research project, customers are not going to tell someone that's internal to that organization exactly what's on their mind. In fact, those people aren't just biased, but they're also listening with a filter. You sort of want someone, how do I say this, that's sort of like stupid about your business, because it's almost like Columbo. You might be too young for this, but the whole old detective from the 70s, he would ask all these stupid questions and then people would just reveal themselves, right? So that's one way to do it, right? Have someone, and you can get someone like off of what's it called, Upwork, or there are people that do this kind of thing, right? That can have these conversations with your customers. That's one way. Another way, something I did recently that I absolutely love, on my website, I put there's like it's called Hotjar, and you can get a free account. And I think you put a plugin or something on your WordPress site. I think that's what I have. I don't know if it's a plugin or it's like a piece of code or something you put in the header or the footer or somewhere. And I have it pop up on any article that somebody lands on. And when that happens, it pops up and it says, what were you looking for today? So because most people come to my site because they searched on something, they found an article, they got to the article, and then so they came looking for something. And maybe the article had it, and maybe it didn't. But I want to know what were you looking for today? So that gives you nice little keyword phrases. You're the SEO goddess. It gives you exactly what they're looking for, not to mention ideas, not to mention, a variety of different things. So, that's a nice short little hack. If you're a little shy, you don't want to talk to your customers. And of course, you could do customer satisfaction surveys and just be sure to ask. The last question I always ask is, what's one thing we could do to improve your experience with us?
That's good.
Right. So lots and lots of ways, and have just plain conversations with customers. If you want to be the one to talk to your customers, have a conversation with a customer that has nothing to do with selling them something. It has everything to do with listening, right? Like, what are you up to this year? What do you think some of your challenges are? Where do you think your business growth is going to come from? Stuff like that.
That's great. I love all that. That is awesome. So to move on, another question for you in our topic today, just talking about content marketing, social media marketing, what are some ways that businesses, at any level could use those channels to deliver their message once we know what our message is and it's refined and it's something that we can stand by? So how can we use those channels to deliver that message?
Well, I'm not going to lie. This is a question I'm always trying to answer for myself as well, right? So the one thing is it's because our media changes, our tastes for media change. I think that what would I call them? Customers, audiences are way more savvy. But I'm going to go to a simple hack because it's going to kind of build off of what we've already been talking about. There's an old sales process that I've used many, that I still use. And one of the things that they'll say on there, one of the steps is, think of the top 5 to 7 frustrations that your customers have, questions that they ask, frustrations that they have in the process. What are those top 5 to 7? Right. So that's like one hack. If you can get to that, maybe you get that through your SEO, maybe you get that through experience. A really fun thing to do is to ask your customer service folks or your salespeople or however it is that you do that to just start brainstorming a list. Go into one of your rooms and just every time somebody asks a question, put it on a sticky note, slap it up on the wall. Right. So just start collecting all of those things and categorizing those things. And that is wonderful content that's ideal for blogging because people always are saying, I don't know what to write about. That's what you should write about.
Yes, that's right.
And then, of course, you're always, once you have your marketing message, like in my case, mine is all about low-cost marketing ideas. That's what I focus on. So I'm like, I just gave you some. That's a low-cost marketing idea. It's a way to enroll your team and it doesn't cost anything, right? So that's one way to get blogging done. And then to really leverage your effort and your time. And of course, one way is to promote those blog articles. One thing we're doing with a client right now is we're taking a bunch of their blog articles and whatever tips and things they had on there, we're pulling those out and using them in nurturing emails. Right?
Wow.
Another one we did is we just did a webinar with a client and the slides all had awesome tips on them. And I'm like, wait a minute, why don't we just take those slides and use them for social media posts? We can put them on Instagram. We can put them on Facebook and then link back to something.
Wow. That's great.
Right. And all of those are ways. And then just kind of add your tilt, as our friend Joe Polizzi likes to say from Content Marketing World. Add your tilt. What is it that makes you specifically unique? Right.
Right.
And that goes back to what are you committed to, or it goes back to, who are you being in the world? If you're a funny group of people, then add some humor to it.
That is awesome. I love that. I like how simple it can actually be to get content, and that's That's something I've been finding out more, the more content I create. Like, for example, you know, the course that I just produced, it is like, well, now it's a 360-page book, which is going to come out in a month. But besides that, the amount of content that we generated after I created most of the script is just crazy. And we've actually been pulling just tidbits out of it to share on social media, to, you know, create even a Twitter chat topic for that people really want to hear about. So I think going back and looking through what you already have created, put time and resources already into, and then pulling from that, you know, to us, it might feel like, oh, well, we just put this out. But to our audience, they're going to look at that as new content. So I think that's a great way, just repurposing how much content we already have and have sunk a lot of time into, and pulling that and putting it on our social media. That's a great tip.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know, sort of going back to the marketing messaging thing, one of the things that I like to work with clients about, you know, is really positioning yourself as an expert.
That was my next question.
Oh, really? What was your
That's
next question?
perfect. How can we position ourselves as an industry leader with our marketing message? Please continue.
Well, you know, we've already talked so much about you know, back to those three questions. Who are you being? What are you committed to? What can people count on you for? Because those three questions, the reason they're critical is that they give you a specific point of view. You know, regardless, when you think about any celebrity, any CEO, any political figure, any public face out there, right? They, no matter whether you like them or you don't like them, the reason you have a feeling about them at all is because they have a point of view, and it's really, really clear, right? And that's real important, real important. It's more important because one of the biggest, what would I say, obstacles that folks come back to me with, they're like, how can I be an expert? I haven't written 15 books. I haven't written this. I haven't done that. I don't have a degree. I don't have whatever you think you don't have. Okay. Believe me, there are people out there who have built a brand for themselves without any of these things. Okay. So yes, if you're clear about those three branding questions we keep talking about, that's your first step. The next step is the next thing we were talking about, which is creating content around your point of view. So state your point of view clearly, right? Like low-cost marketing ideas. That's pretty clear, right? It doesn't have to be fancy. It doesn't have to be anything. It's just got to be like really clear. Once you've got that, then you start creating content around that and associating your name with that. The other thing that I think is a misnomer is that you don't have to choose a form of content that you like. And a lot of that is based on your personality and what you prefer, right? So for example, I don't prefer video. My favorite mode of communicating my ideas and my brand is actually through writing. That's just like a favorite mode for me. Do I do video? Yeah, you got to do video these days, but it's like not my favorite thing because it's not in my personality. It's just not something I like. However, there are folks who love video, or maybe they don't like to write. So, you know, and it's the same thing with choosing a platform. Choose a platform where your audience is and that you enjoy writing on. Like most of my audience is actually on LinkedIn, but I just love Twitter. I just love it, you know, so I'm like at peace with that.
That's great. I love that. Usually it's, you know, you got to do the trend, you got to match the times. But I think like going back to what we can create and what we shine through is really great.
It's like that Strengths Finder book. You know, that was a big moment for me. I was reading that Strengths Finder book. And if you haven't done Strengths Finder, that's another awesome way to help you develop a marketing message. I think the latest one is called Strengths Finder 2.0. You get the book, you get a code, you take the Strengths Finder test, and it gives you like 5 areas where you're strong. And the basic premise of this particular book is what they basically said was most of us invest a ridiculous amount of time to improve our weaknesses. But if we were to take that same energy and that same time to build on our strengths, that would have you shine more. And I know because I suck at math, Julia. I suck at math so bad. And I invested so much time, effort, and money into improving my math skills. And I don't know, it was marginal, passable. What if I had taken that time and spent it improving something I was already good at? Because if you take what you're already good at and you increase it, you know, what if LeBron James, who was like a great basketball player, said, yeah, but I suck at math. So I'm going to take all my time, effort, and energy to become an accountant. What kind of an accountant would he be? He would be like a mediocre accountant with an amazing basketball skill. Don't let that be you.
Wow, that is great. So the Strengths Finder, is that a book we can get on Amazon?
It is. Jump over on Amazon, grab yourself a copy. I think you can get it on Kindle, or you can get it any way you want. And you do. And you know, the other cool thing on the Strengths Finder is it literally gives words and language to something that you might struggle to define for yourself. Because remember, I told you I struggled to figure out what my marketing thing was all about, what my strengths were. And when I found that, like, Strengths Finder, like, I found a phrase in there that says, like, making sense out of. Like, you're really strong at making sense out of things. I'm like, that was transformative for me.
Wow.
And that gave me something, as someone who writes content, you totally get that. Like, with the context of make sense out of, I'm like, oh, I can take things that are really complicated for people and make them simple.
Wow. That's good. That's life-changing.
That's life-changing, right? And so it'll give you little words and phrases that you can pull from and maybe create a really great bio, or really, create a marketing message for yourself. Hey, swipe where you can. We call that swipe and adapt, swipe and deploy.
It sounds like a great tool if you're, struggling with that message. And even for a writer, that's like my roots. It can be really hard to come up with your own message. I don't know if this is true for everyone, but it's like when you have to be objective about yourself, that's the tricky part for a writer. And it can be so hard to come up with your own tagline or motto for what you do. So I think that's a great way to get it out of yourself without too much struggle.
Exactly. And, to sort of wrap up this industry leader authority thing, I suppose I didn't say this. And remember, we talked about marketing is about being and not about doing. We spent a lot of time talking about things you could do. But could I just say that the number one step is choose the side and stand in the place of a leader or an authority. Say that you're an authority. You don't have to say that you're a guru or a ninja or any of these goofy things, but like simply say, like, it took a while for me to put in one of my bios, small business marketing expert. Oh, I struggle with that. Or to put in somewhere like a small business influencer. Because it's a keyword and I have to put it in there because that's what people are looking for. That's how I make my money. So I have to put it in there. And at the same time, how many times have we heard people trash or downplay and say, oh, these people that call themselves gurus or ninjas or whatever, don't use guru or ninja, but don't be afraid to use the appropriate adjective for what you're an expert in.
Yes.
And be that. If you're a content marketing expert, then you're going to do what content marketing experts do. Does that mean writing 2,000 words a day? Does that mean being published? Does that mean, what does that mean for you? What does that mean? So it's be, do, have. Be the expert that you intend to be. Do the thing that people who are experts do. And you'll have the thing that people who are experts have. Excellent.
Well, there's just so much value, I feel like, that you jam-packed into this episode, Ivana. I love it. That was really awesome. Well, is there actually, let's jump to this. Where can we find you online? What's the best place to go follow you at and read your content?
Well, maybe the easiest thing to do is search Ivana Taylor in Google. Because I'm happy to say that now I have displaced the Ivana Taylor sexy blow-up doll after so many years. I kid you not. She's now gone, and I sort of take up the first 5 pages of Google. You can follow me on Twitter at DIY Marketers. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Twitter. Email me. It's Ivana@DIYmarketers.com. I love getting people's questions. Love it. Love it.
That is awesome. Well, definitely follow Ivana. I definitely recommend it. And you have a Twitter chat, Bizapalooza. Can you remind us what time that is?
Bizapalooza chat. So you would follow #Bizapalooza chat. And on Twitter, it's on twice a week, Mondays at 2 p.m. Eastern. We usually chat with an industry expert, author, or influencer. So it's a very small business topic type of thing. And on Thursdays, so this evening at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central, and 5 p.m. Pacific, we take the topic that we talk about on Monday and we sort of, do a spin on that, but it's way more casual, and more conversational and so on and so forth. So, you know what I always tell people, and you know this, Julia, this was another one of those thoughts about Twitter chats as someone who has a Twitter chat. I'm always surprised at how few small business owners, here's a hack, people, take advantage of free advice that you could get from experts on Twitter chats.
So true.
The people that come to Twitter chats, these are people who are expensive people. If you were to, first of all, if you were to tweet at them separately, they would not talk to you. Maybe they would, but they may not see you, right? Secondly, if you were to call them up and ask them to do a project with you, you would pay a ton of money. But if you attend a Twitter chat, they want you to be there. You're going to ask them a question. They're going to answer you. You're going to build relationships, talk about becoming an expert with other experts. That's another way to become an expert. Be friends with other experts. That would do it. And you can get free advice. In my case, it's free marketing advice. In other folks' cases, it could be free content marketing advice, free Twitter advice. I don't know. They're like, free financial advice. Winnie's son has an awesome chat. There's so many great chats. Where you can get great advice for nothing. So go to chats, people.
Great hack. I love that. That is awesome. Well, it was so great to have you on today's show, Ivana. I really enjoyed having you here. Thank you so much for sharing so many great things.
Well, Julia, thank you so much for having me. I'm honored to have been here.
I hope that you enjoyed listening to episode 28 today with the amazing Ivana Taylor. You can find her on Twitter at DIY Marketers and read her content at DIYmarketers.com. And if you haven't heard, my new book, Practical Content Strategy and Marketing, is now available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and iBooks. This book is the result of over 1,000 hours of compiling the Practical Content Strategy certification course, which the book goes with. So I basically spent my whole year creating a guide for newcomers to this industry, helping them find their way in high ROI content marketing and strategy. So if you're interested and you need help in that area, go to Amazon and grab a copy of my new book. It just hit the best-selling charts, which I'm so excited about. Thank you to everyone who has purchased it and is reading it. I hope you get so much good from it. And don't forget, if you enjoy the Right Podcast, be sure to subscribe on iTunes. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode.